And Brian Davis races, and you can too. Today, I have a special guest. Eric Hill is joining me, the founder of Project Echelon, to talk about how we're going to break down a crit course. And we chose one particular course, the Tour of America's Dairyland. Eric, can you give us all just a quick overview of Project Echelon, your role there, and your background with crit racing?
Yeah. I am the president of Project Echelon. We are a UCI Continental Professional Cycling team. We're also a veterans nonprofit. Our mission is to educate, equip, and empower veterans through physical activity by connecting our veteran community with professional athletes to remove knowledge, barrier, equipment, all of the gaps that exist to accessing sport today. We're there to help remove those barriers.
Right on. All right, so let's jump right into it. Here we took the Wauwatosa course, which has only been raced 2 or 3 times. It's got some unique features. So Eric, let's walk through the lap and then we'll go through corner by corner. Well, actually, we'll go through corner by corner first, and then you can give us some different things to think about when we're analyzing the course. So imagine, audience, we're doing a course walk, and now we're approaching turn number 1. So what are your thoughts here, Eric, as we approach turn number 1?
Yeah, turn number 1 is kind of narrow. There's on the left-hand side, there's a bit, you can see the cones there, a bit that sticks out on the course. So being positioned on the outside can be a little bit sketchy, especially later in the day. The sun is setting, it's in your eyes there. It's difficult to see where that curve is sticking out. And you need to set yourself up appropriately for turn 2 there as well. If you scrub too much speed, you're going to slot way far back. You're going to be out of position for turn 2 and into the impending climb that takes you to the top of the course just after that.
Yeah, this hill, it doesn't seem like much in the video, but when you do it 50 times, it starts to add up on your legs. So let's take a look at turn 2 again. You
yeah,
can see,
so
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, turn 1, trying to be to the middle to inside of that corner, setting yourself up, being able to carry your speed out of that, so that as you come into turn 2, which is plenty wide, there's room for everybody there. But getting to turn 2 in the right position is key without losing speed, so that you can carry that momentum into that hill. Wauwatosa is absolutely a race of attrition. So yeah, you might be able to power your way up that thing to fight for position early on in a race, but towards the back end of that race, especially when brakes start to make efforts, you're going to want to have legs to be able to go with it.
Right. And so then this leads into this screaming downhill into turn 3, which seems super scary, but it's actually a ton of fun. So what are your thoughts on turn 3 here, Eric?
Yeah, so I mean, coming out of turn 2, up and over that climb and into turn 3, biggest thing, don't let off the pedals. I see a lot of people let off the pedals at the top of that hill, which means they're losing speed instead of gaining speed and momentum into that hill, which then creates a gap into turn 3, and they have to chase into turn 4. So stay on the pedals over the top. You can take that turn 3 at full speed if you start on the outside and come all the way to the inside. People will take it maximum 2 wide, but you got to come through that thing guns a-blazing. Otherwise, you're going to be on the back foot heading down the rest of the hill and into turn 4.
Yeah, and so there's a long straightaway between 3 and 4. So now we're going to walk through that straightaway, catch up to turn 4 here. So anything about turn 4 that would catch your eye as a course prep?
Not really. Again, stay on the pedals. You don't have to be putting down massive power into turn 4. You can actually pedal through that corner if you need to. Again, go, start wide, finish wide, take the apex. If you set yourself up right for that corner, you can take it full speed, no brakes needed.
Gotcha. And then so headed into turn 5, which is going to lead us down the start finish line. Super wide road, a huge turn. Any thoughts here on turn 5 as we get into the straightaway for start finish?
Yeah, and actually between turn 4 and turn 5 is typically where I take my rest on the course. That's where I can let off the gas a little bit. You can see a lot of guys coasting here. Set yourself up well, but it is a pretty tight turn. It's tighter than you think it is, even though it's a really wide road. You're going to go all the way to the outside curb. Biggest thing, that straightaway is very, very long. It's typically a headwind there as well. And so letting a gap go to the wheel in front of you is something you will pay for later in the race. You need to stay on the wheel in front of you. You need to take the benefit of that draft to set yourself up for that really long straightaway finish.
Yeah, this course. So those are the technical features when you look over a course in total. And then, you'd mentioned about looking for speed changes and how that affects your thought process of analyzing a race. So can you give us a little insight as to what you mean by finding speed changes?
Yeah. So, on a course, when you're looking for opportunities to move up or to position yourself, you want to do it in the most efficient fashion, right? So you're going to look for sections of the course where you may have more momentum or speed than the people in front of you, and you can take position on them, and then put yourself in a spot where you can easily maintain that position coming into or coming out of a corner. So turn five, for example, right into that long straightaway, finding that wheel, putting yourself in position to just make sure you don't let a gap go. You come into it and out of it smoothly, maintaining your speed, allowing the people in front of you to do the work to get you back up to speed into that start finish, so that as you enter corner one again, that's where you maybe want to put a little power down between the start finish line and corner one. Move yourself up as people start letting off the pedals, come into corner one nice and smooth, fast, and carry that momentum into the hill again. So just thinking of ways to move up without spending energy. It's all about conservation of momentum and being as efficient as possible.
Yeah, conservation. That's an interesting comment. So now we're just letting the whole lap play. We've gotten through the sharp downhill. Now we're going to be heading around to 4 and 5 again. So that's an interesting concept to think through, is like the concept of momentum, right? So just might not be the best time to attack in a textbook, but if you have the momentum, you're carrying all that speed, throw out an extra couple 100 watts and see how much pain you can inflict because you already have the momentum. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, speed differential is that is the name of the game in racing, and you want to be able to create that speed differential without putting out the effort. So, yes, maybe the time seems right to attack because of the shape of the group or your position going into a corner. But if you don't have that free energy, that free momentum to create that speed differential, chances are, even if you get the early gap from putting out those extra couple 100 watts, you're not going to be able to maintain it. You're going to go into the red and you're going to suffer 5 minutes later and head backwards in the group and find yourself fighting to move forward again, right? So being patient, waiting for that right time where you're both in the right position and you have that free energy to spend from that speed differential, that's when you want to go and make a strategic move.
Gotcha. So the video is showing the whole lap and now the technical features. So looking at this course, I feel like that turn one is probably the most technical, in my opinion, might be the most technical, but I'm curious what you say about that, because turn one, like the difference between how turn one operated in the first lap versus the last lap, wildly different.
Yeah, one of the things I tell especially new racers is throughout the course of the race, you need to try different lines. You even need to try the not so optimal line throughout the course of the race. Try taking the outside if you think the outside is, not the best line in the world. Still give it a shot. See what that does for your setup into the next corner or to position yourself throughout the race. Chances might be that at the end of the race, that's the only option you have. So you need to know how to take that line and you need to know how it's going to affect you for the rest of that lap. So try all the different permutations throughout the course of the race. But I would agree, corner one and positioning in corner one is probably the most technical. To a new racer, corner three at the bottom of that downhill, that left-hander, is probably the scariest one. But again, there's really no need to be afraid of that corner. You can take it full gas as long as you set yourself up right for it and kind of shift your body weight to keep traction on the tires.
Yeah, that's a great point, Eric. The first time I saw this course, I sat by turn 3, that high speed downhill one, and I was just shaking my head like I don't know if this is a great idea or not. And then racing the course, it actually felt great. Once I got comfortable with the speed, and like you said, you can pedal through that. Well, maybe not pedal through the corner itself, but you can pedal right into the corner, take it wide, cut the apex, and carry a ton of speed going into that backside straightaway. And that surprised me. I really thought turn 3 was going to shake my confidence. But
Mhm.
that's like when you're looking at a course besides Wauwatosa, if you're watching this video, your interpretation of a corner versus your thought of what might happen in that corner versus what really happens in that corner might be very, very different. Do you find that as you've raced around the country that things maybe look different than they ride?
Absolutely. I mean, within Tour of America's Dairyland itself, look at Downer Avenue, corner two, right? Infamous, greater than 90-degree corner. That corner is daunting to a lot of people. But if you watch the pro race, you'll see the number of people that choose to take that very deep inside line. They attack through the corner and they string out the field because of it. And so, again, trying those different lines throughout the race, that's how you're going to start to learn how the race plays out, how it sets you up for the rest of the course. And as you do that over the course of 10 days, your confidence level and understanding of those dynamics and nuances on a course exponentially increase.
Yeah, and this is a good example of the speed change. So in the video, the race, so I remember in this particular race, four of us kind of escaped the front, and there was no big hard effort on that hill. It was just four of us had gained a little bit of separation on that hill, and to your point earlier, we stayed on the gas through that high speed downhill and established, what's in the rear camera is a huge break, and then we all sort of give up the ghost here, um, but to your point about
Again,
that speed change, that momentum.
yeah, your energy expenditure was 5 pedal strokes at the top of the hill without really having to attack. You just had to stay on the gas a little bit, right? So your heart rate never jumped, and you never really went into that above threshold zone to create that gap. That's something
Yeah,
that's repeatable. You could do that multiple times over the course of a race without blowing your engine up.
that's a good
Physically
point. And then
attacking.
and then this little clip here where I'm kind of rolling my way up front. So everyone else, you can see we were strung out. The speed started to change, but I still stayed on that gas, and I missed the watts just then. But the watts, I'm sure, knowing me, that it was not very extreme to be able to move up 20, 30 spots just by keeping that momentum rolling just a little bit more than everyone else through the start finish.
Yeah, being on that start finish stretch again, that's super long. Um, be patient. Like, let the group get you back up to speed. Don't feel like you need to be the one doing that effort. That rubber band is going to stretch, but it's going to start coming back together. And as it starts coming back together and that group starts forming, find the gap, put the extra 5 to 6 pedal strokes in, and move yourself up 20 places.
Right, right, absolutely. So this is about back into the line selection process. So if you're looking at my racing line here or this group, like any tweaks, comments, concerns about how we're approaching these next few corners?
Yeah, so this is corner three right here. And you guys did really well to come all the way out to the outside. Make sure you're looking through the corner there. I think that's a huge mistake that new racers make, especially in high speed corners, is they look where they're going, not where they want to go. Um, put your eyes on where you're headed, where you want your bike to go, and your bike will follow that. If you're looking at where you're going, chances are you're going to end up in the hay bales because that is the trajectory of that corner. But if you start looking where you want to go and what your exit point is, you're gonna fly right through that corner. You're gonna keep your speed, and you're gonna be well on your way to success.
Right. So this line here, like you mentioned, this corner, like I said, is really wide. But to your point, yeah, you do. It does tend to get right into that bump out of the curb,
Yeah,
right up to the edge. And then those folks
there's
ahead of us, they took that corner just a little bit better. I don't think they attacked there. They just rolled off the front better because of maybe a line selection or speed change there.
Yeah, if there's any corner that I've actually seen people clip pedals on this course, it's the last corner. I think people overestimate when they can start pedaling out of that and how wide that exit is. But the people that time it right, they carry good speed in, they carry good speed out. They don't have to tap the brakes, and as soon as they come back upright, can get on the power again. That's where those gaps start to form, and where you have to get out of the saddle to then close it. And lap after lap after lap, that'll eat away at you.
So here's another look at turn one, and pretty easy going because we're strung out there in terms of line selection. This is probably another good example of a momentum move. Is the person I'm following just able to close that gap? So this concept of you versus the course. So I'm trying to like whatever someone's strength is, how do you match that up to the course? So let's say you're a sprinter on this course. How do you approach this course versus if you're more of a breakaway guy? How do you approach this course, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a sprinter on this course, I'm probably pretty good at positioning. I'm probably pretty good at putting in a couple of powerful pedal strokes to make my move. And so I'm not gonna want to put a massive effort in on that climb every lap. That's gonna zap my sprinting legs. I'm gonna want to use my strength for positioning, especially going into corner one. Again, using that momentum to move yourself up, position yourself, and maybe sag that climb 5 or 6 spots, right? And if you can do that every lap, gain 10 spots in that finish stretch going into corner one, sag 5 spots on the climb. You're going to hold that, top 10 position pretty easily without putting yourself in a world of hurt. If you're somebody that's a breakaway rider, you're going to have to again understand where those easy speed differential opportunities are, and then you have to decide, am I best at attacking on a climb and then up and over the top of it, or am I a power rider and somebody that I need to get away on a flat section without putting in a large power effort and elevating my heart rate? Maybe you want to do that in this section, right? Get that gap, hold that gap, and then that way you can ride smoothly throughout the rest of the course instead of having this power, differential up and down over the course of the lap.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did an analysis with a different racer that did a breakaway versus me in the pack. So if you want to check that out on the channel, it's interesting to analyze. Carlos had a breakaway, and you can see his power is just so much more consistent versus mine during this, during the same race. He won the race.
Yep.
So maybe there's a lesson there.
And I'd be willing to bet that outside of that initial maybe 60 seconds to formulate that gap, his heart rate was probably 10 to 15 beats lower than yours riding in the group. And it's just because he got to pick his pace, he got to choose where he put the power in or not. And that led to success for him. That was a good formula for him.
That's interesting. I never contemplated the heart rate effect of the breakaway. That's awesome. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you sharing these tips and tricks with us. Is there anything else you'd like to add super quick, like one tip to give every racer to get their head in the game?
Yeah, honestly, Tour of America's Dairyland, amazing opportunity to try new things and then learn from them, forget about your mistakes, and apply new things the next day. There's very few opportunities across the country to do that day after day after day and really hone your craft. Use this race in this series to do that for yourself.
Yeah, that's such a great point. The having a short memory in a series like this and approaching each race as a fresh opportunity. That's something I need to work on. So I appreciate that insight, Eric. Again, I so appreciate your expertise and insights with this and channel. If you want to follow along with Project Echelon, I'll have all their links in the description down below. They're racing at a really high level nationally. You can't miss them when they're out there racing. They light up these races. It's super fun to watch these guys give it their all. So follow along with Eric, follow along with Project Echelon, support the mission, and we hope to see you guys at Tour of America's Dairyland.
Awesome. Thanks,
Eric.
Brian.
All right, have a good day.